Welcome to a second update today. And the ultimate question we are going to discuss in this update is, should you sell your crypto or not? A short answer will be given in a little bit, but before we're going to continue, we have started and released a newsletter which will be kicking off next week. First 3 issues are completely free. It will be including some insights from me on a weekly basis, altcoin charts, TA and general market updates, and every 2 weeks a fundamental report too. If you want to subscribe, check out the link in the description or the pinned reply beneath. The first 3 issues are completely free, so you can just check it out. What's the content going to look like? So when we're looking at the markets at this point, we can say that we are currently correcting and people are starting to get confused. And the lower the price will go, the more panicky or the more fear people will be having when it comes to assessing or assessing the markets, but also looking at their own portfolio. The altcoins are correcting, especially the ones that have been running quite fast lately. Those are the ones that are getting sold off, as there are not really many support levels in between. So then the question becomes, should you sell your crypto at this point? Are we getting into a bear market, or should you actually be buying into crypto at this point? We're going to look at a few metrics that I'm looking at on-chain analysis. Second, we're going to look at the market at this stage when it comes to Bitcoin. And then finally, we're going to look at a few altcoins, which I think will include some very important alpha that you should be understanding when you get into the markets of the cryptocurrencies. So as a fast answer to the question, should you sell your crypto? Definitely not. The markets are still in a bull cycle, and there are multiple signals of a fact that we're just in the middle of such a bull cycle, and this bull cycle is taking longer than the previous one, which is indicating us that we could just continue grinding to the upside. But some altcoins have to be sold at some point because they're just getting overvalued, and you have to reassess your portfolio when it comes to those runs of the altcoins. So as a fast answer to the question of whether you should be selling your altcoins, definitely not. I think you're actually getting into the path where you want to start building a new position into crypto, and where you get beautiful opportunities to get into those altcoins that you always like to be in. So when we're looking at indicators of the end of a bull cycle or getting close to one, we are using on-chain analysis and price action combined. So on-chain analysis, I've got one on the screen, which is the total supply held by long-term holders. It indicates where long-term holders are actually selling. You should realize that short-term holders are usually speculators and gamblers. They get into the markets when there is euphoria and hype, and they get out of the markets when the markets are dropping down, and that's the moment where long-term holders are actually starting to buy back into the markets at this point. So if you see long-term holders dropping their bags, or the supply being held by long-term holders is dropping heavily, that is usually a sign where you want to get out of the markets, because those are the smart ones. And quite often, if you go back in time, there is a correlation between the price movements during that period, or during when after a huge drop down of the supply held by long-term holders, often we get a correction taking place in the markets. When we're looking at the chart right now, we can see that happening every time. So we can see it happening here during the run in 2013 to 2014 twice. We can see it happen here when the run started to happen already in 2017, especially when you were into crypto around $200 and Bitcoin gets to 3K. It is time to start taking profits, although we can still continue running. It is just building your own portfolio, de-risking your portfolio. If a certain asset in your portfolio gains a high percentage, you have to rebuild your portfolio at all costs. So here we saw it too. We saw it happen slightly in 2019. We saw it happen heavily in the run in May 2021. And that was a key indicator for the crash to actually take place. Right now, a change is happening in which we are still seeing that long-term holders are holding a big amount of supply, which means that there's still not a big sell-off taking place. There's also not a big drop-off of the long-term holders taking place now, indicating that we're just in the middle of a bull cycle. So because of that reason, and we're going to look at another one, the dips are actually great to buy into the markets. Looking at, if it works, looking at the MVRV ratio, which is the market value to realized value ratio, it's the ratio between market cap and realized cap. It gives an indication of when the traded price is below a fair value. You can see that a certain asset is overvalued or undervalued at some point in time. Those peak runs are the highs of a bull cycle, which gave an indication that we were overvalued. We've also seen it here in May 2021. The lower bound is actually sharing information that we are undervalued. So it gives you a beautiful insight in when you should be getting into the markets and when we're getting quite close to a potential bottom. Right now we've seen a drop-off taking place in May 2021 to July 2021, and that has been causing the MVRV ratio to drop significantly. Right now, we're just standing in the middle, so there's no euphoria, no hype, there's no parabolic move, there's no acceleration, so we're just in the middle of a bull cycle, having a very standard correction, which we've also experienced in September, when the dollar was showing strength, in which we just got a standard 30% correction. And when we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin in terms of the 2017 cycle, and I just have to go back a little to get that cycle on the screen, we can see that there has been multiple corrections taking place at all costs, resulting in a 30% correction. Even a 40% correction is quite normal to be happening in the markets, after which we just continue moving. So we've seen it happening multiple times, right? Right now, we can see the exact same taking place, in which the market is showing weakness after a run upwards, after a test of the previous high, just like we have been seeing any of those cases here too, resulting in a corrective move as the dollar is showing strength. Even though, if you're going to combine the price action and on-chain analysis, we can see that we're still making higher lows, higher highs. So even if Bitcoin goes all the way here, the structure is still upwards trending, and we still would be having a standard correction of 30%, giving you massive opportunities to get into the markets at this stage. Coming back to the question, should you sell your crypto? No. But at some point, when a valuation of an asset is going to be vertical, it might be time to start taking profits. So let's assume you've got a portfolio in which you hold altcoins, and you've been holding Phantom, for instance, in which you have been holding it since this period. You've witnessed a run of approximately 1600%, so your portfolio in Phantom has done a 16x close. It is time to reassess your portfolio. And this move and this correction will also take place on Bitcoin at some point in time. Assets will not go up all the time. If you see a chart going vertical, that is not the moment to start buying into the crypto. You're going to look at levels on retests. If you are in that position, it is time to start taking profit. Whether it is Bitcoin or USDT doesn't make sense. As an example, if you have 10k into crypto, 5k into Phantom and 5k into Bitcoin has been going up 2x in the meantime from July to now, which is your portfolio in Bitcoin goes from 5 to 10k. Phantom has done a 16x. So you went from 5k to 80k, your entire portfolio is 90 grand. If you're going to keep your Phantom and it starts to correct 30 or 40%, it drains down your entire portfolio. So what you want to do is you take profits out to rebalance your portfolio. So you've got 80k in Phantom, 10k in Bitcoin, take out at least 50k or 60k from Phantom, put it into Bitcoin, or might want to use a little to buy a different altcoin for around 10k, but then you're decreasing the amount of risk you have, because if the portfolio size has 20k in Phantom and that one drops 40%, you're only losing a tiny portion of your portfolio instead of being in Phantom all the time. So you have to start reassessing your portfolio. If an asset goes vertical, that is the moment to start taking profits. But also, when we're looking at the markets and for instance Phantom, we are getting into the regions where you want to start taking entry points. Yes, we might be scrolling down a little bit more. Yes, we might be having a little bit heavier correction all across the markets. But somewhere in this region, we are getting into the sweet spot to actually buy back into the markets because another run is going to take place anywhere soon. So as a conclusion to this update, I do not believe that you should sell your crypto. I think the chance of getting into the markets are coming around the corner in the coming weeks. But at some point in time, when an asset goes vertical, you have to take profits. This is the update for today. Don't forget to subscribe beneath. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram, and have a wonderful day.